Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders. Moving to the next definition, it's just simply floor. The top of the concrete or structural slab, also referred to as finished floor. For additional information, see HAMA Technical Note HAMA-810 TN01-03 defining undercut. I'm familiar with that document. It's a pretty powerful document. It talks technically about floor and clearance and things of that nature, and we're going to find it and take a look. So the term floor, I think, is a little bit of the type of definition or term that you need to really talk about, because you're dealing with people that are, let's say you're dealing with distributors, people that are like you, or let's say that you're dealing with manufacturers, people that you're dealing with. Let's say that you're dealing with customers, people that you're dealing with. And all three of these people may use or may have different definitions for floor based on their experience. If you're a concrete guy, he's not thinking about the vapor seal and the hardwood that you're putting over the concrete pour. He's probably talking about the concrete itself. If you're a distributor, you might be thinking, well, what am I placing my frame on? That's the floor. If you're a hardwood flooring guy and you're going to put in a frame for somebody, you're probably thinking about the top, it is what it is, but at the end of the day, it needs to be just simply discussed. I had a customer call me yesterday, and unrelated to floor, but certainly related to doors, the customer ordered a 3070 with a mortise lock prep. That's what they asked for. Actually, what they asked for was a DKS 1604. DKS is a company that kind of derived from people from Amweld, and they import doors from China, hollow metal doors. Customer said, I need a DKS 1604. Okay, easy. You want a number one with a regular Coke? Great. How many of those do you need? 6 months later, the client says, for educational purposes, why did I not get the door with function? They didn't say this, but what they were saying is, why didn't it come with any holes for the lever? And that is function holes. And I explained to the client, well, you asked for a particular thing, and it's not uncommon for a distributor to not go through a near infinite list of, well, do you need this? Do you need this? Do you need this? And I said, it's true that distributors will commonly, in my experience, shy away from doing function holes because it's a tremendous opportunity for error to occur. If you're a 16th off on the hole for the cylinder, that's a big problem usually. And that what needs to occur is conversation. I said to the client, there's no doubt that you should have expressed what you want completely, and there's no doubt that there was nothing preventing me from asking the question, oh, well, if you want a mortise pocket, do you need function holes? Which you don't always. There are times when you don't. And because the client is a contractor and they know terminology in the hollow metal industry, I didn't ask, why do you want an 86 edge? Are you just going to put a filler plate on there and use push and pull hardware? Are you doing it because you've got a lock in a weird location and you're going to drill your own hole? Are you using it as an inactive with an adapter plate for a strike prep? Or are you just putting a mortise lock on it? No, I didn't probe deeper. Generally, I do like to upsell, not only in the sense of selling more is good, because as my brother said many years ago, we are a for-profit organization. The problem with the function hole concept is that is a big opportunity for something to be wrong, because there'll be someone at the shop that you've ordered the door from, either your own shop or whoever you're ordering it from. In that case, that door came from Seco. It wasn't DKS. I don't know why we got off of DKS and went to Seco. And it may have been a Seco door, or it may have been a Baron door, a Canadian manufacturer that Assa Abloy owns, who owns Seco. So I don't know which door was sent to the job site. Doesn't matter. But that would have been most likely done by hand in their shop. And function holes, they need to be located accurately. So yes, if there are times when we are absolutely not bringing that up intentionally, knowing that function holes have to be done, but it is the responsibility of the installer to drill those holes. You can also argue between function holes for a mortise lock and holes for sex bolts for door closers. You want me to drill those too? I mean, where does it end? You know, you're going to put a kick down door holder on this. Do you want me to pre-drill the holes for the number 8 screws that you'll use? So there are things that get prepped into a door that are not practical to do in the field, like an 86 edge preparation or a hinge plate preparation. And then there's the stuff that the installer does. Function holes fall on that latter column as far as I'm concerned. And what we don't want is a client to call and say, yeah, the function holes are in the wrong place. The guy can't get the lock installed. That could be a reflection of a poor installer. That could be a reflection of an installer that doesn't have a rat tail file and will spend 30 seconds doing this, problem solved. And when you were dealing with mileage, hundreds of miles, a couple thousand miles between you and the customer and where the door is, and the person doing it is actually the painter installing the material, it's going to be hard to get paid for something that the client has classified as defective. So yeah, we may look to avoid those sorts of problems. So floor. The point of all of that was the term floor needs to be talked about. The term floor. So let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, here we are on the page, floor, the top of the concrete or structural slab. And yeah, most certainly DHI is talking about these terms from the perspective of the steel door industry. Also referred to as finished floor, subfloor, finished floor, floor. I don't know, seems like we got to talk more about it. Let's copy this, defining undercuts. Here's our document. Oh, all right, floor, there they go. So they're saying that floor, yeah, okay. All right, so also referred to as finished floor. That's telling me that you're using floor and finished floor interchangeably, which, no. Hama's saying finished floor, C floor, floor, the top of the concrete or structural slab. Well, I don't know about that. So when I look at floor, the bottom of the frame they're showing is sitting on the floor. Okay. That's probably going to make a lot of sense. You're doing a typical run-of-the-mill tenant build-out space, and you've got a men's and women's restroom in your local pervasive coffee shop. Yeah, that knockdown is going to sit on top of the tile floor. However, you've got floor, then you've got floor covering, and then you've got floor. Floor covering in the bottom of the frame. So have you set the frame onto the floor and then brought floor covering around, like carpet or hardwood or tile or epoxy, and then coped around the bottom of the frame? Okay, maybe. The point of all of this is it needs to be thoroughly talked through so that you know where you're placing your frame and what is the floor. So, and don't quote me because this is just my experience, but when I think of floor, I'm going to have subfloor and then finished floor. And I'm going to say, where are you putting your frame? On the subfloor or on the finished floor? Because I don't know anybody that uses the term floor covering. It's the floor. Then, if they say, well, the concrete's poured, all the hardwood's going in next, and then I'm going to put the doors and frames in last. Well, they're probably going to bring that hardwood all the way up to the studs, and then your frame's going to sit on top of the hardwood. And then you've got to say to yourself, well, that's okay. Here's a real scenario. Actual job. In the early 2000s, this fella on the south side of Chicago started building grocery stores, and he just grew gangbusters. And what he was doing was concrete slab. The hollow metal frames would go in. Then they were pouring epoxy over the floor where they were doing some sort of food handling. So then the question becomes okay, our frame is sitting on the subfloor, our floor covering is going to represent the finished floor. What does that do in terms of your clearance dimension from the bottom of the door to the top of your finished floor? undercut is the dimension from the bottom of the door to the bottom of the jamb. So you've got to think about, well, if that's standard 3/4 and they're going to pour a 1/4 inch, you're going to want to say, well, is a 1/2 inch adequate for what you're doing in terms of clearance? Is the floor level? Will you have any problem with a 1/2 inch because it's smaller than standard? Floor covering. Any material applied on top of the floor that extends under the door in its closed position or under the door as it swings to its fully open position. Under the door and it's closed, or under the door as it swings. Okay. So a floor covering could be a mat that you wipe your shoes on before you walk in. So obviously the definitions given by the governing agencies are what to be followed, but in real world experience, for me, it deserves more conversation to determine what exactly is happening. It's hard to take 3/8 of an inch off the bottom of a door. It's even worse to try to take 1/2 inch off the bottom of a door. Okay, the next definition of floor anchor is sea anchor. And I'm sure I've discussed that quite at length, but let's move on to it. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.